All right, happy Friday, traders. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this chart just to kind of go through the motions here. And instead of starting out with just moving averages with the S&P, let's start out with the skew at the bottom and the put-call ratio in the middle, and then with a little bit of Fibonacci here on the S&Ps. This is the important thing that I wanted to address before we get in too far deep into August. So we have a skew that's much higher than where we started out the first week of August, which is a really good sign. And it might create more opportunity for us to trade not only into 43.62, but yes, eventually up to 4,500. So if we get a little bit of a break in the markets next week, in other words, maybe we revisit 4,200 or even 4,180, then it is really only going to come down to, what stocks am I buying, which long calls am I buying, or, kind of the equivalent of just being bullish overall in this market until September 1st, even though we're not limited, nor are we putting a cap on the market around September anyway. It's just kind of like one goal at a time. All right, so the reason why I started out on this chart is because all this, the two correlations that I look for the most in this chart, is really lining up perfectly for another run higher. However, if we get a pullback that it comes earlier next week, 4,200 and lower, 4,180 is my base case, that would be a nice little area that I want to be buying. Everything about, Friday short squeezes or, take a pick. I mean, high short interest float names that are getting a gamma squeeze, i.e. BBBY today being up 20%. How is that even, being calculated into the market? And you can see I was looking at it a little bit earlier today, as it ended up being up almost 22%. So it doesn't really have anything to do with futures, but if these things are going to start taking off and we actually do start to see a little bit more buying, you can see that we've already made a 50% retracement, and this one goes back to basically January 4th, which is our 2022 high, believe it or not, at 48.08. Why would we make a 50% retracement in a matter of about 35, 40 days if we are not going to eventually continue to push? And, in a perfect world, let's just say we're correct with our directional assumption and we're trying to push into 4,400 and higher. The question is, does it need to take a break? And my big hang up right now in a sideways to higher market is it may not. You can see this, and if you continue the trend, which I don't think it's going to just be as easy as this continuing, right? But if it is going to take a break, I think that coming back down to this white line, you can't see it anymore because I just drew over it. It's a quant pivot level and it's the midpoint, and that's right at about 4160. But I'm calling 4180 because that is a very specific level as well due to point of control and other Fibonacci levels. So 100 points lower on the S&P before the market starts to take off again is exactly what I'm looking for. So we'll see if this happens going into Monday through Wednesday. If we get a pullback, that's our invitation to buy it. Also, the dollar here, I know I have a 5-minute chart. Let's pull up the hourly. You can kind of see going back about 14, 21 days. It topped out. Here we are making new lows, fresh new lows, and today didn't really help either. So can we have kind of a euphoric run into the beginning of September? I think so, but does this market need to maybe take a break, cool off a little bit? Probably. But it's kind of great, right? Because it puts us in a position of kind of calling the lows once it gets down there, and we know the general direction. It's been really strong. I don't think there's, I always try to catch myself, play devil's advocate and just, kind of check anything that might be wrong in the system on my end. But here's the other interesting thing. This blue line right here, the dark blue line, That is the 200 simple, and you can see this little intersection here. If you draw a nice little line across the way, that comes in right at about 43.50. So in this hypothetical, we could pull back a little bit, back down to the daily 100. I think that's a little rich, seeing that that's all the way down to 4100, but the happy medium is that 4160, 4180 area. And then from there, especially if we start to squeeze, whether that's on a 2, a 4-hour, or even a daily chart, I think it is one of the easier, hopefully it will be, but hopefully it is going to be one of the easier longs or long opportunities outside of the one that we've already had for the past 30 days, ever since this squeeze down here fired on the S&P. So are we seeing more follow through from that? Yes. Would it be time for the market to cool off? Maybe in a major way, maybe lower than 4180. Yeah, I think so. And so that's what we're looking out for. That's what we'll be checking on. But at the same time, I think we can have a lot of fun with those other names, and a lot of the commodity space are waking up too. So, corn, natty gas, all that kind of stuff. That's a really interesting story, and we'll continue to follow those as well. But right now, just straightforward, straight through the S&Ps, looking at the levels that make sense, being cautious about a pullback. But, like Carter says, strong convictions loosely held. I think it's okay to be bullish, but I'm much rather wait for a pullback, and if we don't get it, we don't get it. We'll have to, kind of do the old Texas two-step around price action here. But in a perfect world, we get a little bit of a dip to buy, and then we're off to the races into the heavens in September. So maybe 4,500. Not that far away. Remember, 225 points on the S&P, not really a big deal whenever we end up 75 points higher on a Friday, but then also had the week that we had. So leaving all options open, I still like things much higher from here after a little bit of a dip. We'll see what happens. And, maybe this is a good little spot to see if good old Tesla wants to go back into $1,000. So all those topics and more in my sessions. I will see you in the next update. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching this video. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to like and comment down below to help us out. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you can get notified when we release our next video. And if you want to watch us trade in real time using our own money, go to simplertrading.com to learn how to sign up. Good trading, and we'll see you in the next video.